given to our brother Moses. And of course, there are references to Moses having interaction with Khidr. And we've been through the story of Khidr. If you don't know the story of Khidr, we'll do a more detailed video about Khidr. But he's a benevolent green or a humanoid or perhaps even another jinn race from another realm or dimension who had divine insight, was not a prophet, but was a benevolent being. Perhaps my brothers and sisters from the Jewish community, who obviously have more knowledge and more ancient text on Khidr, or the story of Khidr, or the green one, will come forward and disclose a lot more of this information. But we know that Moses had that interaction. One of the important things we want to talk about is the fact that Khidr had the ability to understand space and time and change and alternate things and show Moses. Moses was learning at that time that there is more going on beyond just this realm. See, Moses thought that he was the prophet of light and therefore was the most knowledgeable about what was going on the earth. And what the Lord was trying to show Moses is, yes, you are chosen, and yes, you are the prophet of the light, and you are the most highest status of all of the sons of Adam, and you are chosen to lead your people. But there is a lot going on, my brother Moses. There is a lot going on in this world and the universe, and Moses wants to know the truth. And he goes to Khidr, and Khidr tells him, listen, you don't have the patience to really comprehend what's going on. And Moses says, no, I'll try to have patience. We go on, and Moses learns the lesson, and we have the situation with the boat and the young boy and the repairing of the wall. A quick reference here for many brothers and sisters who don't know this. You can go back to Ibn Kathir again in the stories of the prophets and see the reference to Khidr. And when he talks about Khidr repairing the wall that needs to be repaired, he says Khidr takes his hand and just slides his hand up like this, and the rocks and the bricks of the wall levitate and form back into the wall. It's an important issue to understand that even at that time, at the time of Moses, Moses was able to interact with other beings who had the ability to manipulate gravity and magnetic fields here, and by manifestation of divine intent, move things in a non-physical fashion that we would call miraculous. And so it's important for us to have all this information. And we go on with the story of truth, understanding the unseen, that from a sacred geometry point of view, it is at this point that the Star of David, what we now know as the Star of David, becomes a fundamental symbol in understanding some of the deeper realms. Now, of course, the Jews have in total a very deeper understanding of spirituality. Now, because David being such a noble prophet and the same geometric patterns occurring at this time, and we can see those of you who understand some of the higher light beings and some of the other communities in the galactic community, the Omagdan of the Syrian community with the Star of David symbol built in there, clearly giving you a reference to some of the sacred geometry principles, and the Star of David having at its essence establishing something else. After the time of Solomon, the Star of David becomes known to many people to be the basis of the Merkaba, the light body of even humans. See, we start to understand during the spiritual enlightenment period of my Jewish brothers and sisters that something happens with their community, and they begin an amazing awakening where spiritual knowledge of the Talmud and the Kabala, and now the Kabbalah is becoming kind of popular again, and some of the tree of life and the spiritual concepts of the Sefirot and the Sakina and the different levels of Kabbalah that you can go to Jewish sources and see that people started to understand the significance of that and the idea of the spiritual meaning, and even geometry and numbers built into the actual scriptures. Now, when we talk about some of the beautiful things, we said that man is the most noble thing that the Lord Most High has made, and that man has been made out of the clays of the earths by the very noble hands of the Lord Most High. But one of the other things that the Lord Most High has made with his own hand is the Torah, a blessing and a glad tiding to my Jewish brothers and sisters that the hand of the Lord actually carved or wrote out the Torah. And this is why my Jewish brothers and sisters have maintained the Torah in its original form and structure and numbering system and paging system, and organized it because they recognized there was something divinely inspired in everything numerically and alphabetically with the very words that were chosen and written by the hand of the Creator Most High. And that's how come the Old Testament, what we call in English the Old Testament, is considered very sacred even amongst Christians and of course amongst Muslims and everybody who understands the depth of this message. Again, once again, referring those of us of the light who understand the scripture, even amongst the Muslims, will understand the beauty and light within the scripture, even amongst our Jewish brothers and sisters. And this is where we go back again to a concept of unity and oneness. And we've been continuing to explain this dichotomy of duality and spiritual understanding, that there is information and knowledge, just like there is physical blood. But then there is a deeper understanding and wisdom. Now, the pattern that I have been telling you is of the stories of the prophets. And the reason why this pattern or this story is used is going to be explained further. But this idea that there are prophets that give you stories or archetypes and that you learn from the patterning of your life is there built into the story and built into the pattern and built into the matrix of the actual creation and built into your actual existence as you get to learn what is most important from your father and your mother. Now, those of you who know me, again, my name is Salim, son of Shamshad Ali Siddiqui, my noble father. And the reason why I say this is because we're getting to a very important point in the stories of truth. And of course, if you've listened to the story of truth, the last series, you know that I give all credit to my parents for everything that I understand. And this is very important to know that a person gets their understanding, not from collecting information or gathering knowledge, but learning the deeper meaning and the spiritual wisdom comes from understanding a pattern that is connected to your father. Now, we're talking about the time after Moses. We get to David, and David slaying Goliath and then becoming a leader upon the spiritual path, and a time when the chosen people have gotten the spiritual knowledge and they have established themselves in their promised land, and their ruler is chosen amongst them, and the wealth of the land begins to grow, and a kingdom is established, and David is chosen as their king. And then Solomon becomes the greatest and most wise, and the Temple of Solomon is built, and there's a lot of information and knowledge that is deep about this subject. But I wanted to talk about a more spiritual concept right here.